The Kentucky Small Business Development Center is a statewide, nationally accredited program that provides no-cost, confidential business coaching and training services. Whether you're just getting started or are ready to expand, we have the tools, resources, and expertise to help you succeed. We're part of a national network, America's SBDC, with over 1,000 centers across the nation. To learn more about how the Kentucky SBDC can serve you, please visit KentuckySBDC.com or email us at info@KentuckySBDC.com. You can also reach us by calling 888-414-7232. Thank you for joining today's webinar. The chat feature is available for you to ask questions and interact with today's speaker. Please take a moment to introduce yourself and where you are watching from today.
Welcome, everybody. This is another Wednesday webinar. I'm glad you're here. It's always great to see everybody on the Wednesday webinar. I really appreciate it. Everybody taking time out of their busy days. I know how busy you guys are, so it's always great that, and we really appreciate that you come and see us today. Just to make sure that everything's working, and because we do have technical difficulties from time to time, if you would just look to the bottom of your screen there should be a toolbar. And if not, just take your cursor and scroll down there and it should pop up. And there you'll find the chat button. If you wouldn't mind just clicking the chat button and putting in there that you can see and hear me okay. Just say hello, tell me your name and where you're joining from. It's always so interesting to me to see where people join from. Sometimes we get folks from all over the world that join, so it's great to see everybody to join. So there's Victor from E-Town. How you doing, Victor? Greg from Louisville with Samara. Kevin from Cincinnati. All right, good to see you, Kevin. Thanks for joining. Kayla from Cincinnati. Thanks for joining us today. Everybody see and hear us okay? I guess so. All right, and then as we go through the presentation today, if you have any questions or comments, just put them in the chat and we'll either, might jump in, but we might wait till the end and do some questions. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to really take advantage of our experts here, ask specific questions about your business and what you're facing. That's what they're all here for. So I've got two great guests today. Just to backtrack a bit, here we're coming up on the fourth quarter of the year, and I kind of like in my businesses to start thinking in fourth quarter about new revenue streams and new opportunities that I'm going to implement in the upcoming year to really move the business forward. And there's not a better way to do that, to start thinking about maybe getting involved in government contracting and some certifications and things like that. And so have some two great experts from the Kentucky KYPTAC, that's the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. They are some great resources. I have J.C. Watkins and Kendria Rice-Lockett. They've been with KYPTAC for a while, and they know, I don't know if you've ever tried to get into this on your own without any expert help, but it is a maze that's hard to navigate. So J.C., Kendria, good to see you today.
Thank you for having us, Dave.
Yeah, so as I said, make sure you guys out there ask all your questions, because this is a great opportunity to get those things answered right now. So if you wouldn't mind, if you want to share your screen, let's just jump right in. I'll hand it right off to you and let's get going.
Let's get going. Okay. I'm J.C. Watkins. I'm joined here by Kendria Rice-Lockett. We're from the Kentucky Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and boy, that just rolls off the tongue very easily. The KYPTAC is an organization. We serve the state of Kentucky, but for those of our viewers who are tuning in from Ohio, you've got KYPTACs up there as well, and the information that we're going to share today will be fairly similar with what they would tell you, but we are with the Technical Assistance Center, and basically our charge for the day is to explain to everyone what a PTAC is and what PTAC does. A little bit of background before I move into the actual presentation. I'm relatively new to this experience. However, I'm not new to government contracting and government grants. Actually, I just retired out of Western Kentucky University with 27 years. I've in grant funding and federal contracts. We've held through my department. We held cooperative agreements, we held grants, we held contracts. The department continues to hold contracts, primarily with organizations doing business with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And I spent the last 7 years as department head. And so I'm relatively new to the team, but because of that, I'm joined by the veteran, Kendria, who actually is a veteran of the Small Business Administration. Are you not, Kendria?
Yes, I was there shortly during the pandemic as an outreach and marketing specialist. So I know a little bit of something.
Good. And in general, we both have a fairly informal approach to presentations. So if you come up, we say something and it sparks an interest or has sparks another question in your mind, please, by all means, put it in the chat so that we can get to it. One of the items that we definitely want to make sure is that everybody understands what a PTAC's purpose or mission in life is. We're going to give a brief overview on the governmental marketplace and to equip our partners and all others with a breakdown of services that can be provided, and also to point out what we can't do, because we definitely have some limits, and we don't want to step on anybody's toes. But on the other hand, we are always trying to make sure that we are able to connect people with the resources when they have needs or issues. So moving on, very simply, our mission is we are to promote inclusive economic development by assisting companies selling to the feds, the states, and local governments, as well as helping them access as subcontractors, which, okay, breaking this down into reality speak, a PTAC helps organizations sell to various government entities. They can be federal, they can be state, they can be local, but it would be the limit of what we do. We don't do, well, we do a little bit, but we don't do a lot that the Small Business Development Center programs do. The idea of access to capital, the development of new technologies, business planning strategies and operations, those are beyond our bailiwick. Quite frankly, we do a little bit of it, but in the grand scheme of things, where we get started on that, that's the time we have to hand clients off to our partners for them to be able to pick this up, because by our funding source, we are very narrowly focused. And the reason that I'm talking about the funding source is that where small business is funded by the Small Business Administration, PTACs are funded out of the U.S. Department of Defense. And in essence, the agreement is that PTACs will not veer over into the business planning aspects and the access to capital aspects that the Small Business Administration will. And we are to pretty much stay in our lane and try to assist folks with the narrowly defined governmental contracting procedures. And as we were discussing before the presentation went live, Kendria is working through a range of things right now with her clients, whereas I'm spending my life fighting the dragons that are attached to getting the SAM registrations complete and everybody getting cage codes. And instead of discussing marketing efforts, my job is to make sure that folks, when they get finished with us, have the cage codes and have a base level of understanding of how the governmental marketplace works, because it works differently than, or to a certain extent, it works differently than the overall business environment, because the business environment for a governmental contract has its own set of hoops that organizations have to hop through. And in chatting with folks at the Chamber of Commerce, Kendra and I have both run into the situation where you say that you're there to assist with government contracting, and people's eyes start rolling back in their heads, and they start moving away from you rather rapidly, because they keep saying, no, that's too strange, that's too exotic. Or in my case, the one guy said, well, I don't have any missiles to sell the Army. And I said, no, you're not going to be necessarily selling missiles to the Army. What do you do? And he said, we do cleaning. I said, like office cleanings? And he said, yes, that's exactly what we do. We do office and facility cleanings. And I said, well, then, the government's buying that. And he said, really? Tell me more. And I said, well, the government has office buildings, and those office buildings have to get cleaned somehow. And he said, well, yeah, that's true. And I said, yeah, so that comes through a governmental contracting process, and that's what we're here to assist you with. And he said, oh, I never realized that there was anybody that was around that could help me with that. He said, I had started down that path, it got confusing, and I just gave it up. And at that point, it was the guy went into the salesmanship approach of, no, don't give it up. There's a few hoops to hop through on the front end. We can get you through those. And then once we get you through those, you can go and apply for, respond to bids and apply to contract with various governmental agencies, doing exactly what you normally do, just for a different set of clients. And that turns out to be a major portion of how we spend our time. We also assist organizations. A lot of folks think that when you're contracting with a governmental entity, their minds go to Boeing and the federal government, and the idea that our city and state and local universities also do contracting. We have to remind folks about that. We also assist folks in becoming subcontractors to the large Boeing contractors. Boeing may hold that contract for billions upon billions of dollars, but they need to subcontract out for services. And again, in order to be a subcontractor on a federal procurement, you have to have gone through some hoops. And realistically speaking, that's what a PTAC organization does. So we help Kentucky businesses make money, just like the Small Business Development Center assists organizations in making money. We're just trying to help folks make money off of the governmental marketplace. So in other words, we coach folks, we provide trainings to folks, and PTAC equips entities, large or small, to enter and compete in the governmental procurement marketplaces. As I said, we're fairly narrowly focused. Competing in the government marketplace is not the same thing as coming up with a marketing strategy. We can assist, But truth be told, talking with a client yesterday who had some unusual services that he was interested in selling both to the state government and then out to the population at large. Real quick, we pointed out that we'll help you with part, but this is going to have to be a joint effort that you'll be working with two organizations, because just trying to get the education and information out about your organization, that's a typical marketing campaign. And if you're going to be marketing it to folks down the street, that falls outside of our bailiwick. Now, where you're trying to sell your services also to the state government, we can provide assistance there, but this is going to be a tag team effort. And we're not trying to duplicate, not trying to or make things unburdensome or burdensome, excuse me, for this client, but pointing out that we definitely have some limitations, and that he requires some services that are beyond our scope and capability. And once again, that's part of what we are paying attention to in procurement technical assistance. In general, the governments, federal, state, local, they're the biggest buyers on earth. That is a huge statement. They buy everything. They need pencils, they buy pencils. They need cleaning supplies, they buy cleaning supplies. They need shoelaces, they buy those. I have worked with folks who make underwear for the Army, to others who are, as I said, selling their services as well as products, not just services, but services and products, selling things to federal, state, and local governments. The federal government itself is spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 billion with private companies on any given year. You know, after a while, those billions add up. The Kentucky will spend over 200 million in a year with private companies here within the state. And in overall, small businesses in Kentucky have received over $1 billion in state and federal contracts. And then dropping back just a little bit, in 2020, 23% of all purchases went to small businesses in the aggregate. So and this is not because this is thought to be a nice idea. This is focused by the various governments in order to assist businesses in being able to function, but it's also strategic. The governments are trying to make sure that they are building capacity within the states, within the whole process, so that supplies can be provided to the governmental purchasers through domestic sources. And the purchases will be both services as well as products. And the idea of selling to the government, if it were very simple, you wouldn't need a KYPTAC. But the truth of the matter is that there can be some hoops to hop through, and it can become difficult. As I said, the biggest buyer is the U.S. federal government. The state is spending, and small businesses in Kentucky are achieving sales to state, local, and federal governments. So all of that is to say that if you're selling a good or service, or you think you're going to be selling a good or service, don't discount the governmental marketplace, because if you're selling it, there's a real good chance that somebody is buying it somewhere. Now, it may not be down the street from you, but I know Kendria's got clients who are providing services well away from Louisville. I've got clients, I'm out of the Bowling Green office. I've got clients who are selling photographic images, and basically they're doing layout and design for books to be sold in a state park in Utah. Now, that's pretty far removed from what anybody thinks about when you say governmental contracting, because you're thinking of Boeing or Lockheed or those type folks. No, this organization is selling design and layout. They also have the photographs, and it's for a state contract that's nowhere near here. So when you're looking at government contracting, do not ignore the possibility that you may have exactly what somebody's looking for. You just got to get on their radar. The in general, awards of 1.1 billion in the 2021 fiscal year. This did not include the large contracts or the subcontracts. In general, KYPTAC here in Kentucky, we pick up about 500 new clients a year. We keep about 2,000 active. Actually, those numbers are expanding right now. We spend a great deal of time in one-on-one scenarios. Kendria works out of space there in Louisville. I work out of space in Bowling Green. We're scattered across the state, but we spend a great deal of our time spent with clients in one-on-one scenarios. So yes, we may bore you with a workshop, but then we will also meet you down the street at a designated location to work with you in a one-on-one type situation, because a lot of the questions that pop up are very specific to your situation. 92 training events last year. Will be on target for that, rounding out 2022 as well. And remember, the federal fiscal year is starting up pretty soon here, and so all of our clocks will be reset on that. And then we also assisted various businesses with certifications, and you can see the numbers of over 1,100 over the last 5 years with obtaining the various certifications. And again, the certifications, as folks will tell you, the certifications can come in handy. There are socioeconomic carve-outs that exists within the governmental procurement environment that says that various purchasers need to be paying attention, and actually they are given, or they are asked to provide targets of how they're going to spend their money in terms of contracting. And disadvantaged businesses, minority, women's business enterprises, service disabled, and then the certifications from the SBA. All of those go into this, and part of what we do, as you know, and SBA does as well, is we help people get their certifications. Once again, get the certification, get the recognition, and potentially use that to the advantage to tap in to the governmental marketplace. We're not as large as the Small Business Administration in Kentucky, but we do have statewide coverage. We go from Paducah to Moorhead to all the points in between. We have an office in Paducah. moving across the state: Paducah, Bowling Green, E-Town, Louisville, Covington, Moorhead, and Lexington. And just so that there's faces to put to names, Nancy is our executive director. She's out of our Lexington office. Anna Lee is our communications coordinator, who keeps us all operating correctly and serves to make sure that the information stays on track and gets recorded appropriately. And then our senior procurement consultant is John Olson. And those three work out of offices in Lexington, where Kendria is sitting in Louisville. Sean is in Elizabethtown. Eric Bird is in Moorhead. We're currently interviewing to fill the Northern Kentucky position. And then holding down the far western end of the state is Frank Bennett and myself. Frank's in Paducah, and I'm here in Bowling Green. And the statewide services, going back, we have three primary foci. We coach, so that's one-on-one counseling with clients in order to get them ready and get them conversant in speaking this language that exists in governmental contracting. Because let's be honest, governmental contracting uses a language that normal people don't use. The SBA is not as far down that path, but you still use jargon as well. But the jargon that's attached here for the governmental contracting can get overwhelming and extensive, and people who are actually trying to operate a business and sell their services or their goods oftentimes don't have time to learn the language on their own. So,
and the acronyms.
And the acronyms. Thank you, Kendria. Oh, there are so many acronyms, which being relatively new to the job, I keep finding myself having to go back and look the acronyms up to see what they stand for, because they don't immediately pop in my head like they do the veterans. Now, the veterans who have been along, like Kendria, they know what the acronyms mean and they can assign meaning to it. I'm somewhere halfway between a normal person and a veteran, because the veterans know the background and the meaning and the ins and the outs, and a normal person doesn't even speak that language, and I'm halfway between. So I am working on it, but on a regular basis, the coaching tends to be a major function of what we do, with the attached learning a new dialect, for want of a better term. We do trainings, and on specifically targeted topics. The Small Business Administration does as well. We do what I've referred to as road shows. We will give presentations at various events, and we run weekly webinars as formal webinars that we record and we keep copies of, so that people can, somebody who comes in a little bit later but still needs that information, we can share the webinar with them and use that as the basis to start our conversations, moving back into coaching, as well as we do informal presentations once a week, again, on specific topics. But the idea behind the coffee hours is that basically questions can go off topic, and oftentimes do. The topic may be one thing, but if somebody's having an issue or an area in the state is having an issue, oftentimes the coffee hours will take the path less traveled. And then the part that the fascinating part is that, at least to me, is the equipping our clients by assisting them in research and figuring out the marketing approach from businesses to the governments, again, state, federal, local. but who has sold, who's the biggest players in the market niche that the client wishes to operate in, who's the biggest players, who's received contracts recently, how much have the contracts been, what are the procurement officers looking for, because in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to try and think like a procurement officer. But the reality is, when you're trying to sell something to the federal government, there's somebody sitting behind a computer somewhere who has to make a purchasing decision. And so knowing how to try and establish relationships, and think like a procurement officer is something that, again, our office can assist with. Right now, I know that Kendria is doing a lot of that, just based on seeing who she's working with and what she's been doing. She's spending a great deal of time making sure that her clients are speaking the same language as the potential procurement officer would be, who's sitting in a cubicle or in a cinder block building somewhere, who doesn't know a darn thing about the client's organization or their history or their capability. We connect businesses with prime contractors, which I said before, so that you would be a subrecipient on a larger contract. And we help organizations try to strategize how to tie themselves to government agencies, to get awareness of their firm in the mind of the governmental procurement officers. And then we pay close attention to supplier diversity and the socioeconomic certifications, just as the Small Business Administration does. We've got a list of services, federal, state, local government contracting laws. Remember, if the government's buying something, there's going to be legal issues that have to be met. They can't just go out and buy something. So this is a little, well, it's a little strange for me, because I for 27 years was on the other side, and we were selling stuff. And now I get to look behind the curtain and see what all the procurement regulations are, and how you have to go through the processes in order to make sure that on the front end, you've identified yourself as qualified, capable, and having the necessary approvals to even be operating in the marketplace. Then there's the service or product delivery. Then there's the post-delivery of services and the contract or the contract closeouts. And all of those have federal laws and regulations that attach to them. And anytime you've got a federal law or regulation, then an agency is going to have policies and procedures that attach to that. And once again, I'm back to the point that normal people don't think about all of these things. So it would be very helpful to reach out and find folks like the KYPTAC counselors who do think on this. We also can assist with the Department of Defense Mentor Protege program. Excuse me, I'm getting a little dry here, and other protege programs that are being set up. The Department of Defense operates a robust approach to this, and then there are also programs of similar nature that are taking place in state government. Being able to discuss accounting system requirements and contract payments. Basically, what do you have to do? It's not just that you can be identified as being able to sell to the government. You've also got to have your bookkeeping and your back office information set up correctly, or your attempts to sell to the government, while you may be able to provide the good or services, may not get you paid. And everybody wants to get paid. So setting up the accounting systems and the contracting information is very important. And KYPTAC can assist there. As I said, I'm spending a great deal of my life right now fighting the demons at sam.gov, just trying to get people their unique entity identifiers, and then moving from that into the getting cage codes, because a cage code, for those of you who do not speak federal, but you're thinking about it, a cage code is the golden ticket to Hollywood. Without a cage code, you don't really get to sell off to the government. So cage code, golden ticket. Identifying firms that would need subcontracts, we can assist there. And then the Department of Defense Logistics Agency's Internet Bid Board system, again, is used in the research. We have access to this, so we can tell you exactly what government entities have purchased what goods or what services, and roughly how much have they paid for it. So the backroom research, which can tell you very quickly whether or not you really want to be trying to get into that marketplace. But wait, there's more. We also have capacity through our parent organization, the Kentucky Science and Technology Corporation, to assist with the small business innovation research grants and the small business technology transfer grants, which is basically that's small amounts venture capital for folks to potentially sell goods or services, usually goods, off to the Department of Defense. We also help folks obtain contract information from a range of databases that we have access to. We assist folks finding procurement opportunities in the specialty databases, sam.gov, the General Service Administration contracts. Up till this point, we haven't even been talking about the GSA yet. And when most people say, wait a minute, if I'm going to sell things, don't I have to be sanctified and recognized by the GSA? No, actually, everything we've been talking about up to this point doesn't necessarily mean being on a GSA schedule. But if you think you need to be on the GSA schedule, you can sit down with your PTAC counselor and have a conversation and find out the ins, the outs, the pluses, the minuses, and what hoops you have to hop through in order to obtain or to get on to the government service agency schedules. And then spending Kendria is further down this path than I, advising and assisting clients, talking about post-award functions and things to watch out for, things to make sure that you're reporting on, and making sure that your records are in fact accessible and auditable, because the governmental contracts do require that. And then in general, the various socioeconomic certifications. So we spend a great deal of time doing a great number of things, just like our friends at the Small Business Administration do. But in our case, we're sticking with the governmental marketplace, where Small Business Administration is looking at the totality of all marketplaces. We are focused along a very narrow path. So there are limits in general to what we can do. General business training, small business development, business plans, personnel trainings, and things like that. No, we don't do it. Not allowed to, not interested in it, and SBA does. The assistance to folks, firms in starting new businesses, we can't and we don't assist folks in determining whether or not they should be starting a new business. That again falls to the SBA. If you're dealing in grants, with the exception of the SBIR and the STTR, and here I go talking acronyms, Kendria, with the exception of those grants, nope. Well, if you're grant assistance, we can refer you on to folks who can assist, but we don't do that. As usual, since we are taking federal money, we don't do lobbying. That's one of those requirements. We do not lobby, nor do we necessarily provide assistance for organizations to lobby. Lobbying is just right off of our radar. And then we are not attorneys. We do not provide legal assistance. The liability is too great. We're not attorneys. We don't have that background. We don't have that level of education, nor do we carry legal consultants on our staff. So legal assistance definitely outside the range of what we can do. And then if you got questions, we'd love to hear you. We've got Kendra, the veteran, and me, the mouth who doesn't know all that much, with you here today. And then additionally, if you've got a question or you complete this and you think that you've got questions, you can find us. You can find us on the web. That's usually the easiest way to get a hold of us. Before we start providing assistance and these type things, we have to make you a client, and that's the whole reason that I'm routing you to our website, is that you can't call us and become a client. You do have to go to the website to become a client before we can really start doing anything with you. So we would love to hear from you. We're trying our darndest to help everybody succeed in governmental procurement. And we're trying to make sure that we are a solid and useful resource for the Commonwealth's business. David, that's about the 25-cent overview of how we spend our time.
Well, JC, that was a fire hose of information there. I can honestly say that I think everybody feels that same way, because there's a lot there. You did a great job. So we do have some questions. So Gray wants to know, does having a minority-owned status still have any weight in choosing companies?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
I will say it's always great to have some kind of business certification. There's women-owned small business, veteran-owned, service-disabled veteran-owned small business. 8A is business development for minorities, as well as Hub Zone, which is the historically underutilized business zones, and any state minority women, DBE owned or business. There are certain set asides, anywhere between 3 to 5% earmarked for government spending. So I would always recommend to get a business certification. It kind of pushes you to the front of the line, but it just makes sure your business gets seen.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it comes back to, as Kendra was saying, it comes back to increasing visibility, and anything that a firm can do to increase their visibility is useful.
Good to know. Samira has a question. She's asking about services, and maybe you can talk just a little bit more about the kind of services that you guys see that work. But she says she has a mobile notary business, a tax preparation and solutions businesses. Are these services that the government would procure, that would be interested in procuring from her?
Generally speaking, when you're thinking about this, the answer, and I hate to give the consulting answer, is it depends. But the truth of the matter is, when you're thinking about the federal government, probably not. But when you're thinking about state and local government more than likely have need for this. Mm-hmm. So that, yes, if I'm not thinking, oh, we're the Department of Defense and we need to buy missiles, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm Warren County and I need to make sure that my documents have been duly witnessed and the signatures are all valid, then yes. So again, when Kendra and I say that the government's buy everything, there is a possibility.
I guess really the right solution is to contact you guys so that you can help search the right solutions for what the service you have.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Sherry wants to know, you mentioned this earlier, but what is the socioeconomic certification that you mentioned?
Actually, this comes back to what Kendra was just discussing with the hub zones, the 8A certifications, the veteran certifications out of the Veterans Affairs. All of these are identifiable certifications, some based on race, some based on location, some based on income levels. And again, the quite a few of the various contracts that come out have set-asides for those. So once again, if you got those, if you hop through the hoops to get those official credentials, then that moves you up in the line in terms of visibility.
Okay. Greg has some questions about how to contact you guys individually. So this is the website here. So when they go there, tell everybody what happens, what they need to do to get in touch with you guys.
Very simply, you go there, there's a become a member link. You click on that, and basically you're filling out a small form. The form hits our database, and you get assigned to the consultant for your area, unless of course you look at our names and look at our website and decide, no, based on the fact that I need somebody with a different background than JC might have, I might need somebody who has more experience in one area. I think I'd like to be Frank's client. Then basically you contact Frank and say, hey, look, I'm in Chris's territory or JC's territory, but let's go ahead and if you don't mind, can I go with you? And quite honestly, we say yes. And because of the background type scenario, and we go from there.
Okay. I've got a bunch of questions about how to get minority certified. Is that something you help with? And if not, where would someone go to get some help with that if you know?
Actually, the minority certifications, we can assist with those. That would actually, you thought this was a fire hose. There's no way I could get that down into this short of a period. That would be something that if you're interested in pursuing it, please go ahead and contact us, because this is going to take more time than I've got. You guys are patient, but you're not that patient.
Right.
So
yeah. This is something that I know you say the same thing too, that this is such a big subject. There's so many cliffs and pitfalls. I mean, you can spend way more time than you want trying to figure this stuff out. So it's always best. And that's what I tell our clients is just, here's the website, go, get on and let the experts at the KYPTAC take care of you, because you guys do a great job. And that's what you're there for.
Yep. And the item that people keep getting somewhat confused about is the fact that we're free, just like you guys. We're free. Well, we're not entirely free. In fact, this is your tax money at work, but I'm working hard to make sure your tax money is being spent appropriately, as is Kendria. So please contact us.
That looks like all the questions we have. This has been awesome. I really can't thank you guys enough for spending your lunch hour with us. It's such a, we get questions these, all the time. We refer everybody to you guys. I really want to thank you guys for coming on and sharing. This has been awesome. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
And thanks everybody for joining us today for another Wednesday webinar. We'll be back next week as always. And Kendra and JC, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining today's webinar. At the Kentucky SBDC, we know small businesses are the heart of our economy. That's why our goal is to help business owners start, grow, and succeed in Kentucky. Find out more about how our no-cost business coaching, training, and resources can help your business. Visit us at KentuckySBDC.com.